Oh, there we go.
Ooh. Official now.
All right. So just wanted to go through the introductions. So again, I'm Sheila, and we are number 2. And if you guys want to just go around really quick and just introduce yourselves again.
Okay. I'm Delia, and I am hosting and bringing the joke.
And Sarah.
Yes, I'm Sarah. My role was supposed to be the challenger, but then looking back, challenger isn't supposed to be until like module 3, but I'm still going to accept it.
I'm Deborah, and I had my role listed as the jokester.
Oh, you can do it. That's fine.
What's the other role then? That's what I wrote down.
I did too. I had Deborah as jokester.
Okay, so then I messed up my notes because I don't know what I did with that. Maybe I just didn't write down the name, but you can do the joke. That's fine.
You can save yours for next time.
Yes.
All right. Next thing on the agenda is the joke of the day. So go ahead, Deborah, and you can tell us.
That was the joke. No, I was kidding.
Okay, so let me pull it up really quick. So the joke that I pulled up is because Starbucks has those, like, I call them the turtle saving cups. You know, these ones?
The ones without the, yeah.
Yeah, the ones without the straws. So I'm making my joke about turtles because of that. So it is, how do turtles communicate with each other?
I have no idea.
I don't know.
With shell phones.
Nice.
That's awesome.
I love jokes.
All right. And then the next point is the icebreaker. So if money were no object, where would you live and why would you live there? So for me, I would probably live somewhere like Fiji, just because I love the beach and love anything to do with water. And I've been there one time and it was amazingly beautiful.
If I had, go ahead.
Yeah, go.
If I had to pick, I would just do Japan. If money wasn't an object. I just really like it. I would love to go. So I watch a lot of like vlogs of people going there.
You live vicariously through them.
I do.
All right, Sarah?
If money wasn't an option, I'm not too particular, but I would love 4 seasons. I love pine trees. So anywhere where I have like a hardy fall season and a good winter, I'm good with a lot of hiking. That's it. That's all I ask.
We got that here in Washington.
Yeah. I lived in Tahoe, and so I miss it being here in Arizona.
I lived in Northern California too, so we used to run up to Tahoe all the time too. So.
Yes.
And Delia?
I would choose Bora Bora because I love the beach and the water looks beautiful, and I hate the cold, so.
It does look really pretty. I've always wanted to go in those little water bungalows.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. They do make it look very, very tempting. All right. And our next item is the preparedness. So Dr. Chandler, we've kind of had a little bit of back and forth about, what was due, what was not due. I myself was a little confused. So there is a note-taking assignment that was due for 1.4. So I will go ahead and get that submitted. And then we all did 2.4. So that's what we'll kind of go through today. And as for all of the readings for 2.4 and all of that, I had gone through and read everything and have submitted 2.4. So Delia, if you want to go next.
Yes. So I read the articles. I skimmed chapter 2 and 7. I got the Kindle edition and I'm just not enjoying it. So I ordered the paper one already. And then I believe I have submitted 2.4. Is that that's the notes, right? I believe I have submitted it already, but I did do it. So I printed it out and did my notes on it. Yeah. And the psychological contract I have submitted.
Okay. Yeah, this is Sheila. That one I missed as well, so I'll be working and doing that today as well. So Sarah?
I can agree with some confusion as well. I think it's taken some time for me to understand what's due, when our meeting is due, and I feel like the canvas and all the 2-point somethings, those are hard for me to try and grasp and organize, but I've submitted the notes for this prior to this meeting for 2.4. I'm working on the site contract now, about halfway through, and we'll be submitting that today, along with my last week notes from 1.4, which are done, just hasn't been submitted. And I've read all of the articles and the chapters. I think I enjoyed the reading more just because it tied into some of like Starbucks teachings as well, as far as like, for instance, like SMART goals. And it gave like a nice little explain the acronyms of like what a SMART goal is. And so I enjoyed that for the most part. And the articles as well. The articles sometimes lost me because there's too much information, but I got through it. It was good.
Okay, and Deborah?
Also, I'm just going to piggyback on the confusion, but I was able to, we kind of talked it out earlier, and I think I have a better understanding now. So I have my 2.4 notes done. I also think I might be trying to put too much into them, but I have my 2.4 notes done, my 1.4 notes, I just need to submit them.
Right.
And then I will be completing the site contract today. I did go over the reading. Sometimes it did lose me a little bit, but they were, for the most part, they were pretty easy reads.
Okay. And before we go on to number 6, my computer froze, so I'm going to leave and come back on. Okay. So I will be back in just a minute.
Okay.
She's frozen for me.
She is frozen.
I'm like...
I have a question for you guys. With your notes, like any of like the note sections from the modules, like are you just doing like, because I know she mentioned, Dr. Tanley was like, shouldn't be a summary of what you're reading or what she's asking. Like, what is it, like a sentence you guys may be writing, or just kind of what your thoughts are, or like takeaways? Excuse me.
That's what I've been doing, my takeaways.
Okay, yeah, same.
The summary, and I'm not even citing stuff. Like,
no, I'm not either.
Okay, because
so much.
I feel better. I was like working on this for so long, and I was like, I have to wake up and do my citations for it. But if it's just my takeaways, like.
That's what I did, because it's really asking our opinion and what we think of the material, on a specific material. So I was like, really, why do I have to cite this if this is what she's asking?
Just like my opinion of what I read.
Yeah. And it's,
or like any questions you can bring to the meeting.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe I misunderstood it a little bit. Thank you for asking that question and clarifying that, because I was doing a lot on these.
Sheila, I just asked kind of like everybody's feedback of how or what we were doing as far as like our notes, like kind of if it was like super lengthy or like what you guys were kind of putting in the boxes.
So I was just kind of doing kind of what the instructions said. So if it said, what were your 2 takeaways? And I just put like 2 things that I took away and kind of elaborated a little bit on those. And I'm kind of under the assumption that these are kind of just like speaking points. So when we're going through, we'll talk about one, and then those are like our 2 things that we took away from that. So but it is a little bit of work, but I don't think it would be anything. I think it's just more organized for me to do it that way. So, all right, now that I'm back online. So
Welcome back.
Yeah, right. So number 6 was review Dr. Chandler's feedback from the initial meeting. So did you want me to go ahead and read that, or you guys have it up, and we can just kind of go through it really quick?
I have mine up.
Okay.
So do I.
I'm good if we just review it.
Okay. So she said, me and Delia did really good at describing our team experience in the past. Deborah, she said you didn't do any of the similarities, but I think when we went through in the beginning, I think you did. As part of, you were just married, right?
I think so. And then we were kind of talking about like, I think because me and Delia work at State Farm.
Right.
Kind of went into that.
Right. And me and Sarah worked at Starbucks.
Yeah.
We both came up with delightful.
Delightful, Delia.
Yeah.
And let's see, she was talking about having 2 meetings instead of 1. So that was another confusion that we kind of had as well. So Dr. Chandler, I think we are going to go ahead and schedule 2 meetings in the week. So we decided to do one tomorrow, Monday, at 6:30, and then our normal meetings on Sunday morning. So we'll have, so at least this week we'll have one on tomorrow on Monday, and then one on Sunday. And then those are the content discussions and then the assignment discussion. So tomorrow we'll be doing the assignment discussion for the team charter. Let's see. Just talking about the future meetings and how they will be a little bit longer just because we have more things to discuss, which is fine. And then just letting us know that she thought our meeting went pretty well, and you know, what can you do? It was our first meeting and we're all just kind of nervous and trying to work through everything. So Delia, did you have anything else to go over, or any takeaways from her feedback?
No, it's just the confusion. Yeah.
Sorry, I like hogged all that up. And then Sarah? Okay. Oh, sorry. Anything else to add, Delia?
No. I don't. I mean, I thought it cleared up some some of the questions I had, because I was like, yeah, well, you know, 1 meeting a week, solid. And then she pointed out, you know, do 2, and I was like, okay, 2, we can do 2, not a problem. But yeah, I mean, it was good feedback. You know, first meeting, it's fine.
Deborah, anything else to add to that?
Nope.
All right. So let me pull that down. And let's see. So we are on number 7. So review the agenda. Isn't that what we're doing? And then make any needed changes. So I think the only change that we needed, which again I missed as well, was the site contract. We kind of did that discussion in our first meeting, So I don't think we really need to spend too much time going over that. But as for myself, I still have that to do on my to-do list, and I will be submitting it tonight. Yeah, I think that was the only changes that had to be made. Anybody else have any feedback on that? Julia?
No, I have submitted mine. But yeah, we discussed it last meeting, so just a
Okay.
matter of finishing it.
Yeah. Sarah, anything else?
For the site contract?
Yeah.
You know, I'm midway, so like I said, I've read kind of what is kind of related to that, but you know, what is it? One of the strengths that I'm trying to focus on, I guess, is communication, and really trying to just communicate what I have to say, hear your guys' thoughts as well, because I feel like part of communication is also, you know, active listening and hearing others' opinions and like what we can do better and as a team and to be successful, I guess. So that's kind of my little tidbit, I guess, from the site contract.
And Deborah, anything else to add?
I've had like, I do like a general, like I'll write a sentence first on each thing, and I'm still working on adding everything, but my thing is just making sure I have like all my commitments. Like I would like to be more prepared for meetings, make sure I clear up that confusion before next meeting, things of that nature.
Well, I think like once we continue these on, this is just our second time.
Mm-hmm.
And we were all kind of a little confused. So I think as we go along, it'll get a lot more organized and, you know, we won't be as confused when we're, which is fine. Cause I mean, we're all, you know, we're all in the same boat. So it's not like, you know, one person was confused and everybody else was like, well, where have you been? So, you know, it is a little bit confusing, but we're working it out. And, you know, as we go along, we'll get it together. So number 8, well, we just went over the site contract. So we don't have one, I guess, yet, but everybody's working on them. So some are either done or halfway through it. So, and then number 9 is the discussion of the readings and the videos. For 2.4. So if you want to go ahead and pull up your notes for 2.4. Everybody got that up?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Except for me. Hold on. I have stuff everywhere. So here we go. Okay. So let's see. So the first part of 2.4 is 2 takeaways from chapter 2, which was profiles of virtual team success and what good looks like. So the 2 things that I took away from that is leadership. I think, you know, we all have in certain arenas, we all have really good leadership skills. And then in others, we may not, just depending on how comfortable we are with the group of people that we're around. And then, let's see, also communication and training. So as we're going through these virtual meetings, being up to date on software, knowing what you know, things are available to us. And then as for communication wise, you know, we don't have face-to-face meetings per se, but you know, we all get together, we actually look at each other. So I've been in meetings where we do both. So we either have Skype where we're not face-to-face, but we're on the phone talking and going, you know, we can share documents and do things online, or I've done these where, you know, we are face-to-face. So I think, for me personally, I think face-to-face is a lot better just because you get to, you know, put a face with the name. And, you know, I don't know if Sarah can speak to this, but working at Starbucks, you know, it's like a gazillion employees and, you know, you're supposed to know all these people, where you need to go for stuff. And then, you know, if you don't have a face to the name, they just start to kind of go together. So when you communicate face to face, I think it's a lot better. You get to see people's facial expressions, and you get to, you know, email reads flat. So, you know, sometimes people get offended by things when it really wasn't the intention of the writer. So, Delia, you want to go next?
Yeah. Like there was, I feel like a lot of the information in the chapter was kind of, I mean, I don't want to say like obvious, but at the same time, I was kind of like, well, yeah, all that makes sense.
Right.
My biggest takeaways were the things that didn't seem so obvious to me, like that it's better for teams to be smaller. Like I was just kind of like, why? Why would less people be better? How does that make sense? But then once I read it and like started thinking and digesting, like, oh, that makes sense, because if it's less people and as long as communication is good, it's easier to divide. It's like our roles are transparent, so it's easier to manage. So I thought that was, I did not, like, I've never thought of that, and I work in a large team, so I was like, well, that makes sense, because we kind of, some of us are involved, some aren't, just show up for meetings, so it's like, that makes sense. Another thing was the longer membership. Since all the other not all the other reading, but some of the reading was about short-term teams, and like this class is a short-term team. Like, well, that makes sense. Longer membership teams would be better, because you get to know each other and you already know, like, oh, Delia needs help with this because she's, you know, not so great at this. So I thought that was interesting. Those were my two big takeaways.
Okay. Sorry, it's loud here right now.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. Yeah. And Sarah?
My two biggest takeaways from chapter 2 was very similar to Sheila, the face-to-face meetings. I think those are super helpful. Again, in the Starbucks world, there's many people. We like to call them partners rather than employees. But just in my experience, like even a conference call, there's just so much commotion every time we have to get on a conference call. I don't know who's speaking. There's chatter over everyone. And so for me, I think it's easier to put a face to a name and just kind of really, if they have an opinion or like whatever they're discussing, you can see that person speaking. And so for me, that's super helpful. And it also just shows, you kind of, what's the word? You see them as a human versus someone just like speaking over the phone. It's like, oh, that's a face, that's a human. And now you're showing more like empathy towards that person. I think it's similar to me. Like if you're writing something down on paper, you can write something super aggressive or mean because it's on paper. But if you're recording a video to somebody else, like you're not going to sound so aggressive or mean. So to me, it's like that face-to-face interaction. And then this kind of just struck a chord with me. Effective like training sessions, engage teams rather than delivering information. And so just how virtual teams or just teams in general can be, like the trainings can be more engaging rather than just, next PowerPoint, here's the bullet points, like all this information. And I think that we can lose a lot of our people that way. They just kind of drift off. So those are my two takeaways.
Okay. And then Deborah?
I actually feel like I have really similar stuff to, I feel like we all kind of do. I wrote down, actually, Delia, I took away similar things with you as I was talking about team size and basically communicating face to face. Maybe it's because we work at State Farm. I don't know. But So face-to-face for me, when I think about it, it's because a lot of my communication with everyone is over the phone. So we always stress how important it is, like to show empathy in your tone, and try and keep in mind that what you're saying, like no one can see your face or your body language. So that's kind of like the notes that I took from that, because that kind of resonated with me. And the team thing, also it being in a smaller team, I guess it would be easier to like build relationships and stuff too, from like a relationship perspective versus having so many people. There's only so much time and it's a little harder to get to know everyone on a personal level. And I think when there's that trust and that relationship, everyone kind of performs a little bit better for the team.
Awesome. So the next one is for chapter 7. And that was one thing you will incorporate into your meeting facilitation. So this was how to facilitate high impact virtual meetings. So I put, I will be facilitating the next meeting. One of my focuses is to go through the agenda before the meeting. And I think just looking through all the bullet points before, I get online, just so, I know what order things are going to go through. I think, we had a really good discussion before we started recording, just to kind of, reiterate kind of like where we are, what we're doing, and just making sure that we're all on the same page as to what we're going over, and then just making sure everybody's prepared. And then I think, at least for myself, facilitating, kind of doing more of a round robin and calling people out is just a little bit more organized for me. So, we don't have that talking over each other and interrupting and oh, sorry, no, you go, no, sorry, you go, So as facilitation goes, I think that works really well for myself. Delia?
So for me, it's easy to get me off track. It is just, ask one question. I'm like, oh yeah, your dog did this and let's go, So for me, it was the different techniques in there that you can incorporate into your facilitation so that doesn't happen. And so a lot of it, I was like, oh yeah, that I need to do that. Because even me in meetings, I tend to sometimes bring stuff up that's not necessarily related, and then it just gets us off topic. So for me, it was the intervention technique. See what you can do, how you can ask questions, how you can, how you don't say, hey, you're off topic, and just, hey, oh, that's amazing. Let's just move on back over here. So for me, it was that I printed out the tables. I was like, okay, I'm going to keep this near me when it's my turn.
Sarah?
For me, I was thinking about how I facilitate meetings like within Starbucks and like at a district level. And so and then I was thinking about like when I'm in meetings and my leader is facilitating. And so I want to incorporate, like when I am facilitating, letting my team express their opinions first, and then I will be the last one, only because I want to hear their thoughts first. And I'll probably be practicing this when I facilitate in our meetings, just because I remember when I would be sitting in meetings, and if I was scared to say my opinion, or maybe that's a dumb question or a dumb comment, like me personally just thinking that, I would piggyback off. I'm like, yeah, absolutely, like what you said, right? And then I feel like you don't get anywhere and there's not much discussion. And so that's something that I'm trying to do, where is to hear your thoughts first and then come back with mine.
Awesome. Deborah?
What I want to do when I'm facilitating is, it kind of ties a lot into the feedback that I got from our professor. my first time facilitating, and I kind of signed up for it on the fly. It was a little rough, but it's okay, because then it's like, when I facilitate next, hopefully it'll look like, wow, look at that improvement. But some things that obviously I was not familiar with the agenda, clearly. So I feel like just knowing the agenda like really well and having it printed out instead of just, I mentioned before, I'm used to having 2 monitors and I have my little laptop. So having that printed out, I think, will help me a lot. And I actually did write down to call on people, because as we can see, like with what Sheila's doing, she's just like Delia, Sarah, Deborah. Like there was a lot of that when I was facilitating. We were kind of like, and then there were some like silent moments, because I was like, is there anything else anyone wants to say? But that's not a good method. I think it's you take ownership of it and be like, okay, if we're silent, we're wasting time. Let's move on. So I plan on just trying to like make it happen next time I facilitate, and be very familiar with the agenda and not be afraid to maybe have a little bit more confidence and just push it forward.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think like as we go through and we see different people facilitate and kind of change roles, we'll see different aspects of that, and we'll be like, oh, that's good. I like that. And you'll kind of incorporate that into the next time. So, like you said, by the end, we will, be a lot better at this. And I mean, you were just the guinea pig. It was your first time, and, we're all expecting not to be perfect. So definitely I wouldn't even worry about that, quite honestly.
Well, I'd rather make the mistakes here than be like at my work, like, okay, guys, let's try and do this meeting. So I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
But thanks for
Yeah, I've been to meetings that have been a train wreck, so it's, we've all been there. So, at the end of the day, you just got to, take your humility and just, everybody knows that everybody's human. So anybody have anything else on that?
Nope.
Okay. The next one was the George Washington University Jumpstarting Teams. We kind of went through that last week, but basically, what did I write? So it was speaking up, listening, intensely, and reflecting. So I think we did a lot of that. One of the things I really need to work on is just reflecting. I think as students, we just kind of don't do that, just because we're so overwhelmed with the deadlines and things like that. So it's kind of hard to just like sit back and think about things. So we're just, as soon as one thing's done, we're just moving on to the next thing, just because we have to get it done. So, so that's kind of what I took away from that. Delia?
So I actually was really impressed with the actual article, the actual thing.
Mhm.
So the last class I took was all about like team formation, and it was like literally drilled like the different stages and how you can't skip over the stage because it affects the whole team composition, and you have to make up for it. And so this was nice because it's true, like in something like this, that it's short, or if you're just like on a small like task force that's only going to be in place for a couple of months, you don't have that time to go through the different stages. And so this was good, saying, hey, just up front, you say you're going to do this, you're going to listen, you're going to just setting up those, I don't want to call them ground rules, but those expectations of what the team should be, what is expected. I thought that was really good. I really liked it because, again, it hits all the points of what a team does or goes through to form itself in a fast pace thing. So I liked it.
Awesome. Sarah?
Yeah, I enjoyed the whole entire article. I think what stuck out to me was item 5, like that additional reading, and kind of how it spoke about, in order, like in the business world, to be successful, like within teams, is to work together just kind of like we're doing in unpredictable ways, like virtual teaming. And so it really was on the pro side of things of doing more virtual teams and getting together and just being uncomfortable with the uncomfortable or the unknown. And so, I mean, this is super uncomfortable for me. But I know it's only going to benefit us and myself and us, I guess, in the long run. And so I really like that fifth item that was on that website. So
Awesome. And Deborah?
I wrote down from item 4, kind of those expectations. Item 4, I think it was experiment. I liked because we are skipping over everything. You know what I mean? We're just kind of a temporary, and I do that at my work a lot. For an example, I was with like a team for, I think I worked with them for like 3 weeks, and we only did virtual meetings, and it was to just create a document that we could print out. And then once we sent that and we printed that document, like, goodbye, we're done. So we saw each other for a very limited amount of time. So we skip a lot of the important, foundation, evolving through all these stages of team development that we've all kind of learned about in our classes. But I like experimenting because, for example, we're like, okay, let's try just meeting once a week and we'll have this group chat. Obviously that wasn't enough. So we're going to do 2 meetings a week. So it's just kind of experimenting. And if this doesn't work, that's okay. We'll move on. Does there need to be more discussion around certain items or less? And just kind of playing with it because that's all we can do.
Yeah.
Awesome. And then the next was the 3 pillars of team culture. So I got curious, passionate, and empathetic. And since we've been going through all of these classes, I think some of this stuff, we just kind of, take it for granted that we already know a lot of this stuff, just because, at least for myself, I've been in the workforce for quite some time, and I've, been on a lot of teams, and I've worked with a lot of different people. So you learn to take things away. And I think of when I first started working versus where I'm at now, and I'm like, oh my God, I was like so immature when I first started working. So, and I've learned that throughout my career, just to, be empathetic towards people. And, you need to understand that, just because somebody's crabby in the morning, maybe they had a bad day, maybe something happened at home, maybe something happened on their commute to work that we're just not aware of. So, just giving people a break, letting them know that they're human, and, just being empathetic to people. Everybody's, going through something that we have no idea about. So I think as I've gone through my career, I've definitely taken that to heart. And, if somebody's, standoffish, at least in my opinion, I also internalize that as well, thinking, like, did I do something? But I usually let it go because I know that at the end of the day, it's not about you. So that's one of my main takeaways from that was, just the empathy that we show. And then in the teams, just knowing that, everybody has a life and, we're just all trying to get through this. So, Delia?
So along the same lines, I thought this is definitely something that every class I've had, basic concepts, everywhere I've worked, basic concepts at State Farm, that's like one of our biggest things, like being empathetic, remember this person on the other side. It seems like so obvious to me because that's just kind of like the kind of person I am. But I can see how this could be an issue in a short-term team because, again, you miss the whole getting to know each other. So if one day, I come in and I'm like, morning, then you don't know me, so you might think that's exactly how I am. And it might be that I got a flat tire on the way in. So it's definitely something that I keep like on my forefront even. somebody I don't know or anything that I'm like, oh, that's even someone on the phone. Like, well, they're kind of standoffish. What's their problem? Like, I don't go like, oh, well, screw them too. No, it's just kind of like, well, they're probably having a bad day and I'm just the one here. And sometimes people go off on me and I'm just like, okay, yeah, I'm sorry this is happening to you. And usually by the end, they're like, I'm really sorry I went off on you. It's like, no, I get it. Right now, I am representing State Farm, so I know it's not personal. I know it's just your feelings on the situation. And so I really, really enjoyed this. It's just really hard sometimes.
Sarah?
Yeah, my notes were the same. So I put, teaming forces us to speed up the process of that friendship and working relationship because time is limited, and empathy is is key. Just because, again, we're all human. We don't know each other very well, and I think for me is what makes sense to me is we're all in the same, like, we're all experiencing the same role at one time, and even in maybe your work at or your work life, for me it's the same. Like at one point someone was in this role as well, and so showing empathy towards someone else is only respectful because you were once in their shoes and they're going to be in your shoes at one point as well. And so we all can relate. Again, we're all human, and showing some grace I think is just, it's respectful. I mean, we're human. Not everybody's going to be like you, or not everybody's going to get it the same as you do. And so just respecting everybody's opinions and showing that empathy, I think, is huge.
Awesome. And Deborah?
So I wrote down, the same: curious, passionate, and empathetic, important qualities. I think they're important when you're dealing with any kind of a customer, but as far as like a team, like employee to employee, it is important to be, as far as curious, I take that as being curious about, if someone says something and it's not been brought up before, and maybe they thought it's that one thing that Sarah was talking about, they kind of felt was maybe irrelevant, but they went out there and shared it. Well, let's go into that. What do you mean? Or if you don't understand something, show that humility and just thirst for that knowledge, and always be willing to kind of be humble and just learn more and admit what you don't know, and being passionate about, the work, the team. That's what I kind of took that as. So not like, oh, this is that one class I have on the side, which, I mean, you may feel that way because you have stuff in your life going on. But I think we should have some kind of like passion for the team and that like team spirit, and showing empathy when, whatever we're going through, because sometimes life is just hard. So we've all been there. So that's kind of what I took from those three things.
Awesome. The next article was trust. So the biggest takeaway I got from that was just to be honest and upfront about your abilities and the challenges faced. And then that, again, builds trust with your team. I find that, once I see people's walls come down a little bit, I trust them more. I feel like I can, relate to them more. Just working in the organization that I work in, you see all these people and you're like, oh, that's a VP of, XYZ. And you're like, oh my God, it's like, are they going to talk to me or, but I've found that, every once in a while, you'll just see a little bit of their facade slip a little bit. And okay, they are human, they do go home, they do yell at their kids, they do have embarrassing moments, just because they have a title doesn't necessarily mean that, they're any different than anybody else. So letting, some of that show through, I think builds a lot of trust between people, because now they're knowing that, this person isn't going to go off on me just because I make one little mistake, because, I've seen them make it. So, hopefully they've been in this role long enough, or they've gone through their career long enough to, go through these empathy things and know that, what, everybody has their days and we're all learning, and, we all have to get through this. So once you kind of get through all of that, I think it's a lot easier to trust, your teammates and all of that, just us talking through, we were all confused in the beginning. So, it's like, oh, good, I'm not the only one, and I think that just kind of brings us closer together because we have this thing in common now. Like I said, if one person was confused and everybody else was like, well, I don't know where you were last week, but, this XYZ. So, getting through all that humility and just showing people your kind of human side, I think is the biggest trust builder going through these exercises. Delia?
So, right along those lines, when I read through this, it was, again, it's all about the team building. Like, you're going to trust that somebody else is going to do their portion, and they're going to come in and they're going to be prepared. And it makes such a difference when you can trust that that's going to happen, that you're going to come in and you're going to be ready for the meeting. And if you're not ready, to say, hey, I'm not ready for this because I wasn't able to get to this, and then being open to, okay, so what can we do to help you? It just seemed very straightforward. And it just comes down to whether your teammates are actually abiding and you yourself are doing these things.
Sarah?
My biggest takeaway from that, those two sections was just having honest conversations. And for me, that means like even having like that tough feedback or, constructive criticism, sort of, I guess. For instance, like Dr. Chanley's feedback, if it was me facilitating, I was like, oh yeah, you could do better, X, Y, and Z, or A, B, and C, and not taking it to heart, but taking it as I'm going to try and improve or whatnot. And so I feel like for me, and as like a team, like when I get constructive feedback or just any type of feedback that's honest, that's going to help me, not like that's malicious in any way. I think that's how I build trust. And I'm like, well, this person can actually tell me, when I'm doing a great job or when I'm not doing so good of a job, or ways that I can improve. And I feel like as a team, that's really hard to give your team or team members honest feedback and ways to improve, or just in any area. And so I feel like when we can do that and have really open and honest conversations, and I think that's when like trust is built. Honestly, you have a trusting environment.
Absolutely. Deborah?
So for me, when I read this, for a takeaway for me was kind of cooperation versus that competition piece. And I think that really happens with the empathy piece as well as that humility kind of. I know that you were talking about, like Sheila earlier, kind of like a title, and there's like a fear a lot that comes with that. And that just reminded me of when I kind of first started in the last department I was in. I had a section manager sitting with me doing a side-by-side and watching me working, and I was brand new. Right, thank you. Okay, so Delia's with State Farm, so she knows. Like,
it hasn't happened to me yet, but it happened to other people around me. I was like, oh my gosh.
I was brand new. And my trainer, the way that she presented it to me, I couldn't really say no, because she came up to me and she goes, Deb, so I just wanted to tell you the section manager asked who she could be sitting with, and I said your name. And before I could go, she went, and I told her, oh no, Deb won't be worried. Trust me. She'll be so confident and happy you're sitting with her. And I was like, right. Yes.
That's horrible. I'm sorry.
It was horrible. Yes, it was. But one of the stories that she was telling me was, she broke down that wall. Number one, there was that wall there because she was her position, and I never see her drinking a coffee, and I just don't trust people all the way when I don't see them drinking coffee. Thank you. You guys work at Starbucks. Delia, I'm not sure about you. I'm just kidding. Okay. So she was like telling me about, she was like, Deb, I want to tell you the story about when I was working as a claims representative. She told me about how she messed up, and her mess up was so bad that they took a screenshot of her mistake that has her name attached to it, and it says like who you are and your note and what you did, and they sent it out to the entire department, and they said, please do not ever do this. This is not something you should be doing, for example, and put her mistake on blast, like to the whole department. She was so embarrassed, but she was like, but look at me now, I'm a section manager. So I mean, I think that's just what that reminded me, Sheila. Sorry, I had to.
Oh, that's totally cool.
Bring that back. But I think that really made me feel like it relieved the competition piece. Like I wasn't like, oh, I have to make myself look good in front of her. It was more of like, I just want to make sure I'm contributing to the farm, you know? Mm-hmm. So I think that's a really important way to do that.
Awesome. Yeah. And working at Starbucks, I don't know about you, Sarah, but a lot of our meetings start with what we call a coffee tasting. So everybody drinks coffee.
Time.
Everybody drinks coffee.
Every time.
And I guess I never knew this, but when you're tasting coffee, you're supposed to slurp it. And to me, that's rude. And I'm like, oh my God, this whole team is slurping coffee. So you hear the sounds and you're just like disgusted, because I'm one of those people who can't stand to hear people chew or drink. I just can't stand it. So, you know, definitely, like, I think part of that is also breaking down the, you know, getting everybody a little bit more relaxed, you know, with the coffee tastings and things like that. People going through the coffee masters have to tell you about the coffee. I mean, it's like crazy. So yeah.
Yeah. I feel like Starbucks, like real quick, but I went through the Coffee Master program, and it's very intense and thorough. And you have like your last 10 feet where you do this like huge project and a big coffee tasting with your leader. And I was a barista at the time. And so it's like Starbucks' way of breaking the ice, because regardless if you're meeting with your VP or your regional VP or just your district manager, for instance, now that I'm a store manager, it's just like another way, like, yeah, we all drink coffee and we can discuss coffee, and just kind of, it's more of like of a non-formal communication over coffee. Like, who doesn't like coffee? And if you do, or if you don't, you know, something's wrong with you. No, I'm just kidding. But, you know, it's just like, you're crazy. So yeah, it's a Starbucks way of breaking the ice, I feel like, as well.
Awesome. All right. And then the next is working with others, developing trust and cooperation. So I'm seeing a theme going on here. So the notes I took away from that was your group communication, active listening, body language, group interaction. So, you know, with the communication, just kind of, I'm seeing in various meetings that I've been in, you know, especially if they're like project teams or things like that, you know, somebody will bring something up, and then just to make sure that, you know, the person leading the meeting is listening, you know, they'll summarize what the person just said. And that goes into the active listening. And then body language. Like, I like having these Zoom meetings just because you do get to see other people's body language. So something, you know, if you're just talking to somebody on the phone and it sounds a little harsh, you know, you don't know that, you know, maybe they're holding their kid down because they're having a tantrum while they're trying to talk to you. So they may sound a little, you know, standoffish to you, but they're actually dealing with something on the side that has absolutely nothing to do with you. So being able to see people's body language helps, you know, again, drop those walls and just kind of let everybody know, hey, we're all human, and, you know. And then, again, I think it also helps with the group interaction. I think, you know, we would, I think we're getting along a little better just because we do see each other. You know, we can see each other's facial expressions, and, you know, you can't see me smile over the phone, but, you know, when you're talking, you can see somebody smiling or nodding their head when they're agreeing with you, or like shaking their head if they're not agreeing with you, you know, and then you can be like, oh, maybe I need to go back to her and, you know, see, you know, if I missed something. So definitely it helps to have, you know, if you can't be face to face, definitely a Zoom call, just so you can kind of see the interaction that goes on. Delia?
So, yeah, just being clear, concise. I really like the sticking to like one topic at a time. So, and when you're doing calls, it's easy to go from one topic to the other and then go back, and that comes in with, hey, hold on, I thought we were talking about this. Kind of like what we did before the meeting. Oh no, that's actually this over here, or this 0.5 goes to 0.1. Like it really comes to show how communication is key, because you need it for the trust, you need it for every piece of everything. So that was my takeaway.
Awesome. Sarah?
My takeaway from that section was, or from those sections, was mainly just focusing on the smallest details of, you know, making sure we're aligned on the roles and roles are assigned and staying on track. And again, I really like the agenda. It kind of keeps us on track and moving forward, and getting more comfortable in that facilitator role. But those are my takeaways of just those small details.
Awesome. Deborah?
I like the active listening section, and just kind of like even a or if you're on a call, I guess, or like seeing people engage back, I guess, non-verbally. I guess the being on webcam does help. We do a really good job of all of that. And then I really like that brainstorming section, just because I was thinking about how I facilitated last and the feedback that I got. And I think that it was very helpful in basically taking some of those golden nuggets, like, okay, we're going to make it happen. We're going to know this agenda. If people are not talking, move on. So that's kind of my takeaways I got from that.
Cool. And it looks like that's it, right?
Yeah, the content, right? So just all of our notes and stuff.
Yep. So I submitted that one already. So if you haven't submitted it, go ahead and submit it.
Okay. And then we have a meeting right after this one for the other Zoom call.
That's the one that we're gonna do
The charter
on Monday.
Oh, okay. So we don't have a meeting right after this one. We'll just do it tomorrow.
Tomorrow at
Right.
6:30.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll change the time.
Okay. Thanks, guys.
Poor thing.
I know. I'm just like,
We're just all over the place. It's all right.
it's okay. Experimenting.
Exactly. Yes. And we're all being empathetic because we're all kind of in the same boat. So it's awesome.
Yeah. Thank you guys. Because I need what I need from like things like this is I need like reiteration. So kind of like, okay, we have this meeting tomorrow, then bring it up. Wait, so tomorrow's meeting means no meeting after this? Cool. So thank you guys for your patience with me and me needing all that reiteration.
Cool. All right. So for tomorrow's meeting at 6:30, we're going to be going over 2.5 and going through the team charter. So just to reiterate, I did create a share drive. Everybody has access to it. I put a blank copy of the team charter in that shared drive. So when we get on the call tomorrow, we can go ahead and go through the agenda, and that's all ready to go. So that's shared with everybody. Everybody can see it. I guess the next course of business is to just go through and see, assign roles for tomorrow's meeting. So we need to know who the host is going to be. I think Delia's already set up the meeting, so she's just going to change the time. That's what the host does, right?
Yeah.
But then also records and submits.
records.
Yeah.
Okay. So then I guess since the meeting's already been set, I guess we can still assign the host to record and submit the meeting. So does anybody want to volunteer for that?
I can do it. I need to practice with it, so I might hit you up, Delia, and ask you a couple
I was doing
questions.
last night.
Yeah, like I'm.
With my husband, I was like, okay, let me upload it to you because I've never done this.
Yes, and make sure it's set to public, which frightens me. Once Dr. Chanley put a score, submitted it in our grades, I went back to my YouTube and edited it and set it to private, because I don't know if you guys, I don't want anybody on the internet just watching our video. Right. So I went back and set it to private. So I'll reassure nobody's seeing it. So I thought that was a little strange. In my past classes, we were able to share it with our professor. She gave us a shared link or her name, and I'm unable to do it for any reason. So anyways, just so you guys are aware.
That's okay. I was thinking that was kind of weird, and I don't want everybody just looking up stuff and just watching us. That's kind of creepy.
Yeah. So that's what I did.
And not even that alone is creepy, but then on top of it has to be me fumbling and being awkward. Let's not.
Okay. Who wants to facilitate next meeting?
I can facilitate.
And let's see, the joke.
I'll do the joke. I have it ready.
Okay.
Yeah, she does.
And what's left? What did I miss?
What was Sarah's role in this one?
The challenger, but
Challenger.
I saw something in our roles, in the beginning. I don't know if it's before module 1 contents and whatnot, but it said challenger, not something about in module 3 we'll start using it.
Oh.
But I mean, I think it might be helpful to use it in the charter, because it's well, do we really need that in our charter? I don't know.
Oh yeah, I think that would be. You're right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, since I'm the only one who doesn't have a job, I can go ahead and do that.
Okay.
Well, you kind of already did the Google document.
Well,
oh yeah, that's true.
That's already done in, what is that, 2 seconds? All right. Is there anything else we need to go through today?
I feel good.
Yeah.
And if I feel
good,
then I think you did great, Sheila.
Oh,
Yes.
thank you.
Agreed.
I learned by example the best. So thank you guys for your patience with me. And I think we all did really good.
Thank you.
Awesome. All right. So I guess today just finish up those site contracts and 1.4 if you haven't done that. And we'll see you tomorrow at 6:30.
And submit your notes for 2.5.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
2.5. Thank you.
Yeah, for tomorrow's meeting. So you should have notes for 1 point something, 2.4, and 2.5 submitted.
Okay.
0.5.
I think.
I think you're right.
So confusing.
Thank you, Sarah.
We'll work it out.
Sure.
Once we get the beginning mess taken care of, we'll get it together.
Yeah. All right. Anything else?
I think that's
I'll
it.
hit stop record and submit.
Okay.
All right.